So my name is Ava. Welcome to my office. So I'm in property management. I manage a new construction building, apartment complex that is in North Carolina. I actually moved here from Miami earlier this year to a pretty small town. There is a lot of expansion in this area. So there is multiple new apartment complexes kind of within this area. But honestly, I don't really see a lot of people, especially younger people on YouTube, really talking about property management, what goes on day to day, how to get into this industry, how to succeed in this industry, how to not get completely burnt out and rage quit this industry. And honestly, there's a lot that I love about property management, but it does kind of disappoint me to not really see very many people, especially younger women, kind of talking about their experience. I do feel like property management can be pretty competitive and secretive, and people don't really want to make friends or be nice sometimes, like at my last company. So I just figured, I've been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for a really long time. I have kind of put it off, honestly, because I don't like talking to a camera. It makes me very nervous, way more nervous than talking to an actual person. So I've kind of just avoided it until now, but honestly, I really think that there is a place for this kind of content on YouTube, and I'm just going to make some videos, honestly, kind of see how I feel about recording myself, and at least try to share some information that I've learned, because a little bit of background on me, my start in life was retail, was luxury retail and like luxury beauty. I worked in some spas. I worked for a luxury jeweler. So I wasn't really involved in real estate. I was really more on the sales side, and I had marketing experience. So I actually applied to be a marketing manager at a real estate investment company. So basically what they did was they bought apartment communities and then repositioned them. So it's essentially like house flipping, but for a whole apartment community instead of just one house. So I applied with them. I was handling a lot of the marketing for that company for about a year. The manager at one of the apartment complexes left the company. So I was really only going to be there temporarily, and then I ended up staying at that community and just kind of becoming the manager. And I was there for, I think, a little over a year. So I feel like my approach to a lot of property management is a little bit different than some people who really come from like the real estate side or from the investing side. I like to incorporate a lot of things from luxury sales that I learned, which is really, focusing on that client experience, making sure to have really good communication with people, and definitely the idea that your first meeting is everything. So basically, I have drawn from a lot of different places for this leasing consultation formula, if you will, and I'm just going to go over kind of what I use, because I think it can be really easy to just kind of like fall into, okay, what date do you need to move by? Oh, great. Okay, well, we have an apartment that's ready. Here's the application. Hopefully you fill it out. And that's just not really like the kind of experience that I want to have when I go to lease an apartment, and I don't think that's the experience that most people want to have. So especially the community that I'm at right now is new construction. It's expensive for this area, it's beautiful, and we're not going to win on price. So you really want to make sure that if you're not going to win on price, because you can't always be the cheapest apartments in the area, You want to make sure to have a good experience for people when they come in. So first thing I like to do is leave my desk. So the desk, just like in sales, if you're at a counter, you have a divider basically between your client and you. So, this is like a teacher talking to a student or a salesperson talking to a customer. So you want to get out from behind your desk, really be on the same level as your client. So we have a little seating area that's right here in front of me. So I like to sit people down at the seating area and then sit with them. That already makes it more of a personal experience, and it really removes this divide, makes people a little more comfortable. I'll flip you around. Our office is brand new because this community is still new construction, so it's still being built, and this isn't really the final form of the office or really anything, but it is set up at least so it looks nice for when people come over. So over here we have like a little coffee station, and then right over here is our little seating area. So what I like to do is actually just sit people down over here, offer them water, offer them coffee, like you would want to have if you went to a luxury salon to have your hair done, or if you walked into Chanel and, someone hands you a champagne glass. Now, I know we can't be handing out champagne in the middle of a leasing appointment, but you still want to kind of have a little bit of that luxury experience. So I use real glasses and real mugs at our little coffee station. It's nothing expensive. You can get glasses at Ross for like $4, but it really just does elevate it a little bit more than, just giving someone a paper cup with some plain coffee in it. I have some little Starbucks syrups. We want it to feel nice and inviting, but I definitely sit people down over here, and we'll go over kind of the questions that I ask them. Okay, so let's chat about what I chat about with people. Okay, so one, I do really like to carry around like a little notepad or something. I don't always do that, honestly, but it really does help you remember the conversations that you're having, write little notes that you might forget about later. So I always try to carry one around. It doesn't always happen, honestly. So first thing that I like to ask them, obviously, is when do you need to move by? And what you really want to get to is their lease expiring? Are they being evicted and are trying to move before their actual eviction is filed? You kind of do want to get as much information as you can about why they're trying to move and why the date that they need to move by is important. Because I've definitely had people come in for tours and they're like, well, my current property manager is filing an eviction on me, and so I need to move like before that person is granted an eviction by the court. That's a big red flag. So besides the possible red flags, it is definitely something that you do want to find out, because whether or not they're in a lease is important. If they're just renting month to month, you need to know that, so that way you can really have an accurate time frame of when do they actually need to be in this apartment. So next thing is, tell me about where you're living now. So basically, I love this question because not everyone asks it, so it does really make people feel like you're really interested in themselves and in their lives and what's going on, and it does give you a lot of leverage. So, and I don't say that to be like, ooh, let's manipulate them into signing a lease. But, you really want to understand, because in their current apartment, if they're trying to eat way healthier, but they hate meal prepping in their current apartment because their kitchen is freaking tiny, and you have a unit with a huge kitchen, then that's amazing. Like, you want to really play that up, because that unit that you have is going to help their life more than their current apartment does. So I really try to delve really deep. If they're like, oh, well, you know, my current apartment is really noisy. Like, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about that? Do you have noisy neighbors? Is it kids playing in the parking lot all the time? Is there, you know, a lot of noise from a highway? Like, what about that unit specifically is bothering you? Because if someone is moving, it's pretty much always because that unit is not right for them. And just like with the kitchen, that apartment complex that that person is in right now, they might have a unit that could work better for this person, but they're looking to completely move. And people don't like moving. So residents don't, you know, take that sort of thing lightly. Moving is stressful. Everyone hates it. So you really want to understand, like, deeply what their issues with their current apartment really is. So another thing I like to ask is, how did you find out about our community? It's more just to know, because if a resident told them about it and now they're touring, I might give that resident a referral credit. I want to know if our Facebook ads are working, things like that. It's good to know, and it's also good to understand, you know, what converted that person to actually come in for a tour. Did they find us online and they loved the pictures of our giant kitchens, and now they're coming in and the kitchen is really what's important to them? Which leads us into our next question, which is, what's most important to you? And really, really try to get to the root of that issue. Because someone can say, oh, I'm really looking for a unit with a washer dryer. Everyone loves in-unit washer dryers, but where I'm from, at least, in Miami, having old apartments not have any washer dryer hookups is pretty common, especially if you live by the beach where there's a lot of like historic buildings. So why does that person need a washer dryer? Maybe they recently had knee surgery and they can't be, you know, walking back and forth. They have to get someone to drive them to the laundromat if they want to go, because you can take that information and really make that prospect see why the unit that you have is going to work for them. So I try to go through those basic questions while people are here sitting in the office, and then I walk them through the unit, because then we already have a basis on what they're looking for, why they're looking for it, and what their timeline is to move in. So then I'll walk them over to the model unit. You know, if someone doesn't really want to like sit down and chat in the office, then I'll just walk them straight over. Sometimes people are in a rush, but generally speaking, people don't have a problem sitting down for a minute because they really appreciate you feeling, or you making them feel like you're really listening, which you are really listening. But, you know, it doesn't always come across to a prospect that you're really listening. So taking that time, really sitting down with them, even if it's just for a few minutes, it really does make a difference. So when we walk through the unit, I just take those notes that I made from our initial consultation and I just point them out. So this kitchen is fantastic for meal prepping, which you said you loved to do. Do you see how much fridge space there is? You can fit so many of those meal prep containers in here. You know, things like that. It's not, because you don't want the person to feel like you're pushing this unit on them, like you're a used car salesman and they can't get away from you. You know, that's not how I want to feel. So that's not how I want someone else to feel when I'm talking to them. So it's really easy once you've already spoken to them a little bit to really frame your unit that you have available as something that's going to be a really good fit for them and to solve those problems, whatever they are, for them. So I will make more videos just about property management in general, but especially about closing leases. The thing is that we do everything online now. So when someone comes in for a tour, we don't have a paper application that we're handing them like, oh, here you go, fill this out. Where's your money order with your application fee? Most of the time, people aren't bringing in proof of income, along with, all of the information that they need for their spouse's application, for their roommate's application. So most of the time, people are leaving without a completed application. So I always go over everything that's in the application process with them. Usually while we're leaving the model unit, I send them everything that they would need, a link to our application, just a text. You need your last 3 pay stubs, you need your ID, you need your social, and then the $30 application fee. But all of that is done online on our website. So I feel like when you have a good consultation with someone, a lot of times they just kind of close the lease for you, honestly. Because you don't really have to go out of your way to show them, like, hey, this is the apartment that you should live in, because they've already made that decision. And if they've already made that decision for themselves, that makes your client feel a lot better, because they picked this beautiful new apartment. You did not pick the apartment for them. They picked it because they have great taste. So it makes your client happy, and it makes them really more likely to actually go to your website, to click the application, to fill out the application, to pay for the application, and do all of that happily, instead of, feeling like, okay, I'm in the office now, I have to fill out an application right now while we're sitting here. And I still convert a lot of tours, and people don't feel like they're having, this apartment and you're like shoving it down your throat like it's a 2005 Toyota that's like $800 off at the used car dealership. So that's a lot of kind of what I go over with people when they come in. If you have any questions that you feel like really give you a lot of information or a lot of insight onto what your prospects are looking for, comment them down below. This is my first video, so I'm sure it's gonna get like 3 views. But yeah, if you have any questions about property management also, I would love to see if I can answer them, or help you in any way. Like I said, this is a sometimes really secretive kind of industry to work in, and I do think that kind of turns off a lot of people, especially if you're younger and you really want to get a good feel of how everything works, of how you fit into this industry. So if you do have questions, I would absolutely love to answer them. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, I guess. Oh boy.